Hi, everybody. Welcome to our presentation, The World is Still Hers, Hachi, Project Sky, and Vocaloid. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with my good friend Ash,
Hi.
and we're here to talk about a specific period of Vocaloid history, about the past 10 or so years, talking about the kind of decline of Vocaloid over that time, and then the resurgence that we've seen in the past, like 4 or 5 years. Vocaloid never truly really died as a community, but there definitely were some trends and some interesting happenings that happened during that time that we wanted to talk about. So, yeah, here's our presentation. We originally gave this at a few conventions in 2024, and we wanted to do a version to put out there on YouTube just to have out there. So, some of the information might be a little outdated. It shouldn't be too bad. So, yeah, we're going to get into it.
Alright, so let's get started with some background knowledge, making sure we're all on the same page. So, Vocaloid was a specific piece of software made by Yamaha, released around 2004. It's a singing synthesizer, so like how synthesizers can produce all kinds of sounds for instruments, like pianos, a singing synthesizer can produce singing voices, human singing. That's kind of how, well, it attempts to. Vocaloid, when it first released, was interesting. There was a little interest of like, oh wow, a piece of software my computer can now sing songs. And they released, only two voice banks being just like the actual singing part, like the character voice. So you had to buy Vocaloid, and then there was a voice, and then you could use different voices of the software. Vocaloid, the name itself refers to this specific piece of software, but the community is it's a really good name. So the community is kind of just taking it and use it as a generic term. So you call all sorts of singing synthesizers Vocaloids, and that's what we're going to do in this presentation, since it just makes it easier, and it's a really good word, it's a really good name. So when Yamaha wanted to release the first Japanese voice bank, so singing in Japanese, they partnered with Krypton Future Media, this kind of small software company, and Yamaha would handle the development of the voice bank, but Krypton will work on actually marketing it and selling it in Japan. So the first voice bank they worked on, Mako, was a great big success, simply because Krypton slapped an anime girl out of the box, and they found that a lot of consumers really like that. They're like, ooh, cute anime girl, and then would buy it. When Krypton would then try again for Yamaha's second Japanese voice bank, with Kaito, they put an anime man on the box, and they found that, whereas Mako sold like 3,000, which is a lot in these sort of niche software spaces, Kaito only sold 500, which is really bad.
Yeah, they hated his ass.
So, after those two initial releases, Krypton wanted to make their own. Like, Yamaha developed the first two. Now, time for Krypton was like, okay, we're gonna work on our own this time. So, Yamaha was coming out with a new version of Vocaloid, which would have better synthesis, the voice would be clearer, and then Krypton, using their kind of experience in this area from learning from Mako's success and Kaito's failure, they knew, okay, we gotta make a cute anime girl, and with a nice, cute female presenting voice. The new thing, however, the new innovation Krypton brought to this field is that instead of hiring a professional singer and trying to market this voice bank as like, oh look, we hired this professional singer, and now she's a synthesizer, and you could, have this famous singer sing these songs, they decided to make up a character, make up this anime girl character, hire a voice actor to perform and sing as that character, and then market this voice bank around that character. So that was the really, really unique part about this new voice bank that they were making. And well, we kind of all know where this leads up to. This voice bank was Hatsune Miku. The release of Hatsune Miku was monumental. It's really hard to express how successful and how influential she was. Like, on release, selling thousands of copies in the internet loved her. Message boards like 2chan were just and just talking about Hatsune Miku. They created all kinds of songs, fan arts, memes, and even little stories to go along with her, even though she was kind of a blank slate. A lot of fans, with the kind of the hype of Hatsune Miku, made a lot of original characters, kind of born out of the community and born out of that culture. For example, there was this funny situation where a bunch of, like, I believe it was like Google was stopped letting you search Hatsune Miku or something when there was a bunch of internet issues, and then people made up this character called Naru, who would kind of a Vocaloid hater, who was like, Vocaloid's so lame, I'm going to sleep. That's why her name is Naru. As well as April Fool's jokes like Kasane Teto, which was made kind of as a fake Vocaloid, a hoax to try to trick people. The Japanese video site, I believe Nico Nico Doga, was where a lot of this Vocaloid content was posted. It was more popular in the Japanese spaces of the internet, and that was where a lot of the Vocaloid content was censored. As more things got stolen and reposted to YouTube, the international community for Vocaloid also slowly grew as well.
It's crazy. To this day, you could still find a lot of those, hey, I reposted this from Nico Nico Doga, like, videos uploaded like 15 years ago. It's crazy.
The community was really, really lively. All kinds of creative people kind of came in and flocked to Vocaloid. It's not just musicians. It's not just artists. We had even, like, dance groups like Nyan Taro Project. They danced to a song by Pinocchio P, and then that choreography ended up going viral and then also helped pull up Pinocchio P's original song. There were musicians like Ryo and Melt. He had stolen someone's artwork and posted a song with it without the artist's permission. When the song Melt blew up, Ryo went to apologize to the artist, Hikeshi, and kind of to apologize, and Hikeshi saw, like, the success of Mel and was like, hey, that's interesting, you got a good song there, what if we collab? And started making stuff together, and that's how Supercell was born, and that's how we got stuff like World Is Mine, Black Rock Shooter. There were also artists who would work on MVs and do artwork, like Ichika would do a lot of the Evilus
Chronicles.
Evilus Chronicles.
We got there.
And then also ended up being the artist for, I believe, the novelization, or was it a manga or novel?
I think both.
Okay. I always forget. And of course, being a singing synthesizer, there was also people who would make covers. Like Mafu Mafu, who would cover Vocaloid songs, which are very hard to sing, as you'd imagine, having a computer be able to sing something versus having a human who needs to breathe and needs to pronounce and manually move their mouth is very difficult. So being able to cover Vocaloid songs was required a lot of skill.
Yeah, and Mafu Mafu has that skill. His voice is insane.
So with Hatsune Miku's viral success, more and more people are becoming fans of Vocaloid. You can see kind of in this Google search interest graph. I know it's not a perfect metric for this, but it does kind of show trends, right? That's kind of what these are for. You can see as the initial release of Vocaloid there in 2004, we got a little blip, we got some interest. Oh, this is interesting. But then it dropped down and it was like, man, this sounds weird, or I don't know what's up with the voice bank packaging.
Yeah, but then Anime Girls.
Yeah, and then that red line right there, bam, Hatsune Miku release, immediate sharp uptick, and then it's just boom, to the top. The hype was real, so real that they had live concerts. So it started off as they were just projecting animations from the Project Diva arcade game. So they were just projecting these to in front of these massive crowds. But then it started getting really involved. They had all kinds of crazy projector setups. And they even, Krypton themselves, even created custom software to do all the rigging and making it sync with the music. So if if the live musicians accidentally speed up or slow down, the animation could match or react to the crowd's cheers. That picture right there is the very first Magical Mirai in 2013. Magical Mirai is just this massive convention and concert that Krypton puts on, and it's like a huge celebration of Hatsune Miku and all of her friends. So lots of fun.
Yeah, we had a chance to go to it last year, and if you have the chance to, I really recommend it. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, they do it every year. I know I said this in the store, but it's really, really, if you weren't there and experienced it, it's really, really hard to convey just how much Hatsune Miku was. She was
unprecedented,
everywhere.
yeah.
It was people who, your parents would know who Hatsune Miku was. Because she'd show up with David Letterman with The Late Show, right? She had a whole commercial with Toyota selling the Corolla. She was in all kinds of video game crossovers. Google commissioned a song to use Hatsune Miku to advertise for Google Chrome in Japan. That's insane.
So while the craze with Hatsune Miku was remarkable and unprecedented, like a lot of things, the hype was unsustainable. The bubble popped, as you could say. Here we have one of those Google search interest charts like we mentioned before. It lost a lot of steam starting 2014. You see a little bit of a downward trend. That's just how it is on the internet. People lose interest. The memes become old. You move on to the next thing. Musicians and producers in particular started moving to either singing themselves or collaborating with another singer rather than relying on the software to get their work out there, which is a little unique to this scene. So things started moving on. People weren't as interested in the new songs as much anymore. We have a quote here from Vocaloid producer Shannon talking about how the 2017 popularity rankings didn't really contain that many new songs. It was more songs from 2014 through 16. So things were very much stagnating. Someone who was still influential back when Vocaloid was big and huge and first coming out was Hachi, also known as Kenshi Yonezu. Extremely popular, extremely influential. His music is very unique, as is the art for his songs, which he draws himself. He started producing songs in 2009. His first song to hit 1 million views was Close and Open the Dead in 2009. He also had Matryoshka, Panda Hero, and then Donut Hole in 2013, which I think was his last Vocaloid song, if I remember correctly. Second to last. So
we'll get to that.
Yeah, that part is important. So eventually, he did move away from producing Vocaloid songs. He started his own singing career. He had his first studio album, Diorama, which did very good. His second studio album, Yankee, featured Donut Hole, covered by himself, also did pretty well. Hit the Oricon Weekly #2 ranking. His third studio album, Bremen, was when things really started taking off. He peaked at #1 on both the Billboard Japan and Oricon rankings, which is huge. He also, around this time, I believe around 2017, he had his anime music debut with the ending song for March Comes In Like a Lion called Orion, which is a fantastic anime. You should watch it, by the way. So this leads us to 2017. Like mentioned before, he hasn't made a Vocaloid song in about 3 or 4 years, and he is approached to make the theme song for Magical Mirai despite this. Magical Mirai being a huge celebration of everything Hatsune Miku. So Hachi gives it a big long think and is like, what should I write for this anniversary song given the current state of the Vocaloid fandom? And he makes Sand Planet.
Back as I can remember, I always wanted. Back as I can remember, I always wanted. Back as I can remember, I always wanted. Back as I can remember, I always wanted.
Sand Planet was a huge deal when it released. at the time, not many Vocaloid's music videos would be fully animated, and Sand Planet was dropped with this beautifully animated video with extremely catchy and good song. I mean, it's Hachi. His songs all have always been extremely popular, and Sand Planet is no exception. So for years, Sand Planet would actually stand as like the most viewed Vocaloid song, and kind of that prominence would lead to direct references and reactions to it to this day. The themes of the song aren't subtle. He definitely views kind of at the Vocaloid scene as drying up or becoming a wasteland. Like the lyrics, thunder flies back and forth in an empty sandpit, where Hatsune Miku's release being the lightning, and then the thunder being the echoes of that, and it's just long past. More into the themes of the song and also like references, Hachi references Melt directly and kind of credits the song Melt as the start of the Vocaloid community in the song. But he kind of questions if the community is just riding the wave that Melt kind of started, and kind of there's a lot of symbolism in the song with the graves perhaps referring to the countless producers, undoubtedly countless unnamed producers who weren't able to make it or become successful. In the song, it feels Hachi questions the community. What are you wandering in this desert for? Why are you in this sand planet? Why do you still stick with Hatsune Miku? And here, another reference to his other songs, Are You Lost? Waiting for a hero to come save you.
It's very accusatory. It's demanding an answer from the people listening to it.
Yes. Of course, with such strong emotions, and especially for a theme song for an event meant to celebrate Hatsune Miku, it's not surprising that a few people had issues with it. For example, we have this interview with Kurage P, a Vocaloid producer, where he found that it was offensive for someone like Hachi, who hasn't been active in the community for years, to just come back and be like, hey, what are y'all doing? Y'all messing it all up. And didn't like how he it feels like the song is calling all these producers who are working so hard to get their work out there just being referred to as sand and obsolete. Meanwhile, people from kind of outside the producing sphere, for example, Shannon here, at the time when Sand Planet came out, he hadn't created any Vocaloid music before. He had purchased Gumi, but was just sitting on the shelf, wasn't doing anything with her. So actually, when he listened to Sand Planet and heard the lyric, if something comes to mind, then walk, so you don't leave behind any regrets, he kind of saw that as I'm gonna regret it if I don't create something with Vocaloid. So all these reactions, and Hachi kind of anticipated this. He knew when he drops this song, it was gonna be controversial. And what's cool is that we actually have an interview from Hachi and Ryo, the producer of Melt, where he previewed the song in the interview, and kind of have this funny interaction where Ryo kind of says, "There's so little room for criticism of the song. It made me feel like you're quite the saddest, Hachi." And with Hachi responding, "Well, I think it'd be good if some cheeky fellows would show up like, psst, forget Hachi. I'm going to change everything myself. That's the sort of thing the scene could use." And I think that kind of was his intention, to push people, to agitate people, and kind of push them to respond, like prove him wrong. Hachi definitely wishes for the best of the Vocaloid community. He still loves Vocaloid, even though he may no longer create songs and is so busy with his own singing career. It is, after all, where he got started. To him, it's kind of like a hometown. So of course he wants to still be able to, see that it's there and go back to it occasionally. personally, when I first heard about the story of Hachi and Sand Planet, I wasn't really invested in the scene. I was just casually listening to Vocaloid music. Like, at the time, I thought this was like a massive like diss track, and then he was just dropping this and saying Vocaloid sucks, I'm leaving, peace. But no, he he dropped this to like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna make any more Vocaloid music, but like I want this to keep going, so I'm gonna drop this song that's gonna infuriate people.
It was very much instigating, but he did it with a good intention, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, that's Hachi's last Vocaloid song. It's like Sand Planet was his very last song, and he hasn't really done anything as Hachi anymore, and now his career is all as his real name, Kenshi Yonezu.
Yes. Although he did recently do a music video for Donut Hole. It wasn't an entirely new song.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it is cool to see him, like you said, still care about the scene.
Yep.
Doing a little music video, giving some new life to a song that a lot of people regard as a classic, but he's doing his own stuff now.
Vocaloid after Sand Planet was much the same, honestly. Well, immediately after Sand Planet, it was much the same as before Sand Planet. There was definitely a lot more discussions in the community, but we could see in this Vocaloid Social Just graph, another one of these, it's still kind of, it's still waning a bit. The community, of course, still continued. People who were diehard Vocaloid fans stuck around, of course, and new producers still debuted. A few notable songs is Pinocchio P's Vocaloids Are Lame, which is a very melancholy and hopeful song about how, despite all the negativity, there's still going to be creation and love, even if, people find it lame. And I don't know exactly if Vocaloids Are Lame is a response to Sand Planet, but it definitely feels like
it's
one.
the same sentiment of the time.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. Another song is the breakout success of Ayase, his song Last Resort, a song talking about how sad it is that, all the good times have long passed, and questions the point of continuing at all, which is, Ayase, you okay there?
A little grim.
But yeah, that's kind of where the Vocaloid community kind of was at the end of around 2019.
So moving on to our next little time period, we get to around the 2020s, 2019-ish, where we experienced lockdown due to the pandemic and all that. We're not going to focus on the truly awful parts about that, but we're going to instead talk about what that did to the internet and nerd culture. So if you are locked inside due to a global pandemic, why not go online? There was a huge boon to internet and nerd culture due to the lockdown. Lots of people just, spending times in online communities, talking in Discord, spending more time on social media. And one of the groups that really got a boon from that was the Vocaloid fandom. Specifically, we noticed because of TikTok, especially early on in TikTok. So that's got to be 2019, 2018-ish.
Early 2020s.
There was a lot of Vocaloid songs or just Vocaloid related audios trending on TikTok, which we thought was pretty interesting. We have some examples on the bottom. Lost Umbrella was using just a lot of general cutesy anime edits. Ghost Roll was trending with just the kind of the Miku screaming kind of stuff. People are look, listen how cool she sounds. Popipo is eternal and will be anywhere if you could find it. So yeah, I'm sure you've all witnessed this yourself. Everybody was a lot more online during this time period. And part of that's particularly interesting with Vocaloid in particular and TikTok is how TikTok's short form content really encouraged trending Vocaloid videos and audios. It is somewhat similar in a way to earlier YouTube, where it was less about all this promotional algorithm stuff that's really analyzed and more about here's some silly stuff you could pass around and it's going to go viral a little bit more naturally. Obviously YouTube's not like that today, but early TikTok anyways was a lot closer to that. Things that are memey and catchy and short and notable will become trending easier, and that's what Vocaloid is. Think about Popipo, right? That's that's it at its definition, right? Nico Nico similarly is really yeah, it still is well suited to spreading that fandom culture. It's why things like Toho exists really prevalently there. It has tagging and categories and content trees, so people can just like really narrow down on the specific fandom things they would like to see. And I did want to address at least like Vocaloid is not unpopular on YouTube these days. I'd say, especially looking at it now, it's pretty big again. But I think coming up in this time period, it's important to note and like compare these different social media platforms at different times. I think there definitely is a trend with the type of content that does well there and how it relates to these like Vocaloid memes, I guess you could call them. So moving on, related to that, part of the nerd culture boom overall, something that really popped off during the pandemic was VTubers. Everyone's a little bit, stuck inside, you're bored, you might as well watch a cute anime girl play a game and yell at it and hang out with each other. They really popped off during this time, specifically in like 2020-ish, 2021, I think, around then. And one part of that is a lot of VTubers themselves are invested in like nerd culture stuff, otaku culture and stuff. So they're, interested in Vocaloid songs. And when it comes to time to sing, right, like VTubers are very connected to that like idol culture and like singing and all that. Why not sing a Vocaloid song you're really interested in? So it's that kind of collision of different parts of nerd culture that came together in a really cool way, and it brought a lot of attention to older Vocaloid songs. You can see on the screen we have a cover of Melancholic by Junkie, which is covered by Tsunomaki Watame. Little sheep girl down there. I don't know. I'm not really a big VTuber fan, but I think that's how you say that.
Yeah, these were the ones who were at, was it Techo? Or was it
Yeah.
anime Boston?
Yeah, we lined them up with the convention we were doing, which is fun. All of this culminates, right, like the covers with VTubers bringing attention to songs and the feelings of nerd culture in the pandemic culminates with Goodbye Declaration, a song by Chinozo featuring the Vocaloid Flower. Really encompasses a ton of the feelings and trends going on then. It features the main character talking about how being a shut-in is certainly the path of justice, really like finding the good parts about being stuck indoors and being a shut-in. This song was massively popular. It actually dethroned Sand Planet after its long years of reign, with 124 million views on YouTube, and that's probably more now.
Yeah, it's probably way more
We
now.
took this like about a year ago. It is the most viewed Vocaloid video ever to this day. It went viral on TikTok, and part of why it went viral was the covers. This song, if you just look up Goodbye Declaration on YouTube, you're probably going to see a bunch of covers immediately right after the song. They were huge. They were covered by Project Sakai, which we're going to talk about later. I'm there as well doing the pose in the corner in my flower cosplay. Genuinely insanely huge. And another part of that, like I mentioned before, is there's people just related to the themes going on. It's a sentiment that people enjoyed or at least could relate to a little bit, giving a little bit of positivity in the pandemic. So that's absolutely like the timing really worked out for this kind of song.
What's really interesting about Goodbye Declaration, it's the first Vocaloid song ever to break 100 million on YouTube.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, 100 million views, and it wasn't even Hatsune Miku.
And it wasn't Miku. Shout out to Flower. Moving on, though, we've got another one of those search charts, and despite everything we said before, there's a bit of a stagnation in the search results. Like we mentioned, this is not the perfect representation of what's going on in the fandom, but we thought it would be interesting to note. On a similar vein, Magical Mirai 2020 was postponed because of the pandemic, which, has nothing to do with the fandom, but it just kind of fits with everything else going on, right? The fandom is stagnating a little bit. Things are getting postponed. It's a little bit sad. And we had Pinocchio P's song, Because You're Here, which had a lot of similar themes of, like, even if things aren't quite the same, even if things are a little sadder and quieter, Miku is still glad that you're around, still glad for the community. A little bit, it's definitely melancholy, but there's a little bit of positivity there for the people who've been holding on.
Yeah, it's such a sweet song. It's so emotional for
Yeah.
me.
We'll play a clip right here. And I think it's especially interesting moving on from Vocaloids Are Lame about like 3 years before that. A little bit of a progression of Pino P's feelings, maybe. So, something else really big for the community happened in 2020, and that was the release of Project Sakai Colorful Stage. Let me see if we got a little bit of key art right there. This game featured a huge catalog of exclusively Vocaloid songs. It started off with only 28, but we'll get into how many it has today. It's genuinely ridiculous. It featured 5 groups of 4 new original characters each who kind of like interact with the virtual singer in their cell phone worlds things. And each of them are kind of a rough type of Vocaloid song. We've got like a rock band, an idol group, a stage play group, a Vivid Bad Squad doing like electronic dance
Yeah, it's what
weekend.
the down.
Yeah, and Nightcore doing a lot of like the sadder, edgier, slower stuff. This is a kind of format you see that's pretty typical in these kind of like idol music rhythm gacha games. But what I think makes Project Sky really special is it is a love letter to Vocaloid, and it helped the scene boom even further. It brought in people who were like maybe Vocaloid fans in the past. It brought in new people who weren't really Vocaloid fans, like myself. I knew of Miku beforehand, but it wasn't until like 2021 where Ash showed me this game. I'm like, hey, this stuff is pretty cool, that I became a big fan. Part of that, and we're going to get into why this game is loved later over the next few slides, but I want to at least mention first that a lot of the voice actors on the team grew up with Vocaloid or have history with Vocaloid in some way. You can see Ito Kent, the voice actor for Toya, over on the right, standing next to his character. He used to be a Vocaloid producer in college under the name 21 Sekipi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but his songs are actually featured in the game now, which I think is really cute. We also have an interview with Noguchi Ruriko, the voice for Ichika in the game, talking about how she grew up with Vocaloid, how she used to talk about it with her friends in high school, which I think is super, super cute. And it really is fitting of Ichika nerding out about Vocaloids on that comic on the screen. Just super adorable. And I think you could see that connection with, I don't really know about the history of the rest of the staff, the writers and whatnot, but it definitely, you could see the love shining through. And one example of that is this game, despite all the new stuff, gave a lot of attention to pre-existing songs that Vocaloid fans are really familiar with. Tons of fan service. Many older songs were covered by the new characters where they'll sing alongside the Vocaloids. And part of that was these 3D MVs where you could see character customizations and see them do cute little dances. And super fun. Many of these went trending on their own. Like, this is going back like 2 or so years ago on TikTok, but there's lots of Romeo and Cinderella poses being edited where everyone puts their favorite characters in there to ship them together. People doing the Toadembo Wonders, spinning edits, Ego Rock edits. There's also fun little details, like some characters aren't as good as at dancing, like Kanade and Rui are a little bit more awkward and stiff, which is fun. So yeah, those are a fun little way to call back to those older songs. And in addition, we also have the 2D MVs, which a lot of the times we would get back artists from the original videos, or not we, the Project Sky team would commission those artists for those 2D MVs. So we have an example. Your Adventure Log has vanished by Jesus P. Wonderful Opportunity.
Yes.
Both of the music videos were illustrated by Glider, so you could see them back to back there. It's the same art style, so it really makes it feel like authentic.
Yes, it feels like it's straight from that era again.
Right, and it's like the same vibes and everything. Something else, and we can even put a clip of it up on the screen, that's fun, it's just a good rhythm game. Like, that's why I got into it at first. I was just like, this game looks fun. They also have a lot of references to Vocaloid songs in the patterns in the song. Like, I think we have the lag train example, where the bouncing of the notes matches the girl lagging across the screen in the music video. So yeah, really, really fun, really, really referential. On the more original side, tons of original songs were commissioned from popular producers for the groups, which really makes it they feel like authentically like spawned for the game. I don't know if that makes sense. They feel like brand new Vocaloid songs just for the game, which I think is super fun. Vocaloid versions of each of these songs was also released, which each kind of got like popular in their own right. Like, I know Salamander by Deco, I didn't realize that was a commissioned song for a while because I'd only hear the Miku version. But then I'm like, wait, this is a Project Sakai cup noodle sponsor song.
Right?
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And each of these songs is tied to a specific event in the story. We had the 5 on the screen were the kind of release songs coinciding with each of the 5 groups. But every event from that point, we got a new one coinciding with what went on in the story. which made it really fun to like follow along with the events and see how the themes of the song tie to the character. And if you're invested in the character, you're gonna go crazy for that, obviously. It's fantastic. We could put a clip of one of them on as well.
Yeah.
We'll decide later. And an example of this kind of like love and attention to producers, which I think is, we're going to talk about that a bit more, but just the kind of attention to the individualism of each of these producers is something I really love about Project Sakai, is Toa. Toa started online in 2013 making Vocaloid songs. His most popular song was Patchwork Staccato. But he had stopped making songs around 2017-ish, just kind of like, was busy with whatever, just stopped posting. Until Project Sakai happened, and they commissioned him to make a song for a Mizuki Focus event. The song is called ID Smile. It's fantastic. I think it was her first Focus song.
I don't know.
It's one of them, yeah. It's a song that directly connects with her whole arc, her themes of feeling unable to connect with people because you're a secret. You're like kind of putting on a front and feeling like is it worth it to make yourself vulnerable and opening your heart to other people? And it's fantastic because now, since then, Toa's been just like posting songs. It's almost like Project Sakai brought him back from the dead, which I know is exaggerating it a bit, but these commissioned songs really are a big part of why these characters resonate with Vocaloid fans. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too, but people see songs from producers that they're used to, talking about emotions and feelings and stories in similar ways. Like, you can really connect with that. Another kind of funnier producer story from Project Sakai that connects back to what we were talking about with Hachi and Sand Planet was Jackpot Sad Girl. This is by the then up-and-coming producer Saito, who we had a slide on a bit before with Bitter Chocolate Decoration. He is a producer who really looked up to Kenshi Yonezu and started producing Vocaloid music because of him. And some of his own feelings, whether, maybe a little exaggerated, but they find their way into this song, where he reacts to Sand Planet's like negative feelings very aggressively. He uses harsh words like seething, ignorant, and idiot to describe the dried out world that Sand Planet describes. His feelings, it's honestly pretty funny because this is for Night Court again. This is for Mafuyu, and Night Court is very much the classic online Vocaloid producer group in the like traditional sense. So it's a little bit funny to see like direct Vocaloid community quote unquote drama connected to that group.
Yeah.
Big quotes around that. I don't think Saito's like actually beefing with Hachi super hard.
It's so cute, honestly, because Saito writes all these harsh words, calling Hachi a dumbass, and then he goes on an interview later and is like, "Oh my God, Hachi, I love you." So he's definitely a little silly.
Yeah, it matches the energy that Hachi put down with Sand Planet, I think. But moving on to more specifics on the story and outside of the songs, a lot of these story themes resonate with Vocaloid veterans. Many of them contain themes similar to Vocaloid songs that they are used to. We say this specifically because most Vocaloid producers work independently. They're not part of like a big label or company or anything. And because of that, the music often has no filter. It's just one person's raw emotions. It's going through Hatsune Miku, but you're just posting that out onto Nico Nico into the world. This makes it a great mouthpiece for younger people and those who feel isolated. It's a lot easier to get your emotions out that way. It leads to a lot of, and big quotes here, edgier themes. I think about like, what's the song that you like a lot? The Neru song. Lost Ones Weeping.
Oh, Lost Ones
I think about
Weeping.
that.
Yeah.
That's like the go-to. When I wrote that line, I'm like, that's the song I'm thinking about here. This is also appealing to a lot of the newer fans, a lot of those who are younger, who didn't like grow up with Vocaloid in the same way that our generation did. Just because like they're going through a lot of that stuff, that many of them are younger, they feel isolated. So a lot of those themes just like, that's what they're going through right now, dude. Just to give some examples of those themes, just so it's not too vague. A lot of the groups talk about the melancholy of growing up and like the sacrifices you have to make to have some professionalism and to make it in the professional world. Leonid, Wonderland Showtime, and More Jump talk about that tension between creating art and the need to make money. There's a lot of talk about parental trauma and disconnect between you and your parents. Enna and Akito, a lot of their self-esteem issues and confidence that pop up in the story is something they share due to their upbringing and their father. Toya similarly has a really bad relationship with his father that the story gets into a little bit during the VBS story. Lots of characters overcome their fears, with Kanade having like severe social anxiety revolving around going outside. Lots of really harsh bullying. I think about Honami and Mizuki in particular. And a lot of talk about characters just kind of struggling with their own internal identity. Irie and Shizuku have this disconnect between what the idol scene sees them as and what they see themselves as, and they kind of like reconcile that together and with their group. And then back to Mizuki again, you know, very clear transgender themes, dealing with how other people see you and how you want people to see you, and that trust there. You also see that a bit with Mafuyu and Akito as well. There are other themes, obviously, in the story that are more typical for a rhythm gacha game. Passion for music, teamwork, reaching your goals, which are not any less impactful. But I thought I'd mention them as well. The fun part is that, like I mentioned, many of these songs that were original for Project Sekai connect back to these themes. So it all comes together in a nice little circle, and it makes the Vocaloid fans be like, I'm a fan of these funky little guys. They're fantastic. I can relate to them. This hits home.
Yeah, I feel like, because when you see Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage and you install, you're like, oh, hey, funny Hatsune Miku rhythm game. You know, you're expecting very light story, you know, it's whatever. But then you finish the Night Court story and then talking about wanting to disappear. You're just like, oh goodness.
Disappear, you say. That's a little, But yeah, and like we mentioned before, new events come out at a regular basis, so it gives people some incentive to keep checking on the game, follow their story, keep you engaged like gacha games want to do. But it's fun. You get to have these characters develop over time, and you get really invested in them. We had Farewell My Mask, the big Mafuyu and her mom confrontation event that was happening on EN, I think, when we were doing one of these presentations, so we popped that in. And yeah, to move on to more direct impact of Project Sekai and not just, you know, talk about the general stuff. Yeah, you could see on another one of our search result graphs, it was huge. I don't know what happened with that little drop off there. Something weird happened. But yeah, you could see around the 2020-21 mark, there was a big bump in interest for Vocaloid again. And that does coincide with the Project Sky release. Both, yeah, these are English results, but obviously it might look a little different with the Japanese results. We thought it was a good example either way. This is Sega's most successful and highest grossing mobile game, which is nothing to sneeze at because they make a lot of stuff. Project Sekai currently has over 400 songs in it. Some of them aren't even Vocaloid songs.
There's only a few that aren't.
Yeah, there's only a
Very
few. But it's just like it, to go back to the whole it being a love letter thing. This is a love letter to Vocaloid. It has like, it rivals even Project Diva at this point for being like a library of Vocaloid songs. They also run contests which bring out new talent and inspire people to create new pieces of art, whether like drawn or songs. We have an example. I think What's Up Pop was the a contest winner at one point for Vocaloid, or for Project Sky, excuse me, and got added to the game, which is really cool. Someone in the community submitted that. There was also the Project Sakai Academy, where 10 young producers were tutored by 6 professional producers, which they all wrote a Vocaloid song, and the winner gets added to the game as well. Tons of fan art as well, you can see down there in the bottom right. And like we mentioned a little bit before, this game got a bunch of collabs too. There's a Cup Noodle collab. There was a Toho collab coming out as we were doing one of these presentations, which we were like, that's insane. Yeah, I think due to all of these things, combining with all the factors before, Miku has never been as big as she is now. She is gigantic again.
Those 3 points in time are the big center points to Vocaloid's resurgence in the past decade. So from that, here we will talk about kind of the outlook in the recent past.
Yeah.
So, talking back to Magical Mirai, the 2023. That's the 3, right? Yeah, the the 2023 Magic Mirai theme was written by Ayase, who you may mentioned earlier, and the clear change in tone from Sand Planet to Because You're Here to Hero, where Miku, it's a song about kind of thanking, either you could see it as thanking Miku for being your hero and kind of saving you, or Miku addressing her audience as her hero and bringing her back into mainstream popularity. And the song, of course, references Sand Planet.
Because everything references Sand Planet.
It's talking about how, this is a planet of love. The green will spread out rather than dead and desolate. Clear change in how it was. And I think that whole seeing Miku as the hero for saving them kind of fits really well with Ayase, whose breakout hit was kind of really sad, depressing song about kind of giving up and why you even continue. It's really cool to see Ayase go from, writing that to writing this.
And to link things back a little bit more, Ayase has also done a commission or two for Project Sky. He did Cinema, I believe.
Yes. In terms of the actual technology and the software, taking all the way back to our first slides, Vocaloid is still around. Yamaha is still pumping that out. I think that they're on Vocaloid 6 right now. They brought up a lot of... they have Gumi on Vocaloid 6 now.
They have Una as well.
Yeah, Una is Vocaloid 6. Now, what's interesting is that there's a lot more different software now. We have Synth V and we have Sevio. Synth V being kind of the big one right now, because Kasane Teto, that troll fake Vocaloid, got a licensed Synth V voice bank, and she has never been more popular in the scene. Like, it feels like every big Vocaloid song now has Teto in it. So Synth V has been doing amazing, and Gumi also got a Synth V voice bank, which is awesome. And I'd love to see like more voice banks and these characters kind of be cross-platform, so we could have someone like Una be Vocaloid 6 and also Synth V. I think that's super neat.
It's really awesome. It gives people some more freedom to choose what tools they work with, and I also like that a lot of these, specifically Synth V, are multi-language support thanks to the like really cool AI features. And this is the cool AI. This is not like generative AI.
It has the issue. It doesn't have the issue of consent.
Yeah, because the voice providers are like, this is cool. Do what you like with these clips. But yeah, it just lets a lot more people kind of contribute more easily. You don't need a separate like English voice bank, for example. A lot of these synthes just come out with language support out of the gate. Led to a lot of really good, English Teto songs, a lot of really good English Gumi songs, like from Jamie P and Flavor Foley come to mind. So
absolutely. And even a lot of classic Vocaloid banks would like change to different, like Sevio Flower got moved to Sevio, a very controversial move at first.
Her design.
Yeah, her design mixed reception, but her voice in 2.0 sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds more closer to the original Flower. When we originally wrote the side, you could see Miku crying in the corner. We didn't actually have much news on the next iteration of
when we
Miku.
wrote this, it was all rumors. There were rumors that Miku was getting a new version, and we didn't know yet. And then a year later, they announced the whole Super Pack and the whole the new NT version, as well as she's coming back to Vocaloid 6. Eventually,
yeah.
They said last year.
And still not much for the other Krypton Vocaloids, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so the outlook is still a little but at least things are happening, which is nice.
Yeah, Krypton's too busy making money.
Yeah, they got
Not
those merch on the figures.
Yeah. And here's another fun callback. I love these slides, so I just throw everything on it. Vocaloid, now that it's been like 10 plus years since that big explosion in Vocaloid, we're now seeing a lot of people entering the professional space, and with like big, singers and stuff who grew up with Vocaloid. So now they have this influence. A lot of famous singer-songwriters you might know, even from anime openings and endings, started in Vocaloid, and it's super cool. There's a ton of Vocaloid just references now. We have like the huge singer Ado, probably the most popular Japanese singer right now, who grew up watching Nico Nico Doga on her 3DS. And I think that's so cute for her to go from that to performing with Hatsune Miku live on stage at the Tokyo Dome, which is awesome. And you have her, as Uta from One Piece. You have all these trending TikTok audios and sounds that come from either a Vocaloid or a Vocaloid producer. we have a lot of famous singers besides Ado, like Yosobi. That group is Ayase and Ikuwa, who combined forces and made Yosobi. We have Eve, who is a very famous Vocaloid producer, singing songs on their own, but also still making Vocaloid songs occasionally.
And speaking of singing songs on their own, in the top left, we've got Kenshi Yonezu. He's still around. He's doing his thing. Of course, if you're invested in the anime scene, even at all, you've heard songs he's worked on recently. But yeah, everything on this slide is at least somewhat related to Vocaloid in some weird way, so...
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mesmerizer.
Oh yeah.
I just checked, actually. Goodbye Declaration is no longer number 1. It's
What?
Mesmerizer.
Wait, while we were recording the video? That's crazy.
Yeah, and what's funny is Mesmerizer also brought back Neru.
Yeah, somehow, through a random tweet.
The funniest way Neru could be remembered. But yeah, now I would love to share some of our favorite active producers and songs they made that we think are really cool.
Yeah, we put together this list when we were doing our presentations just to bring some more attention to them, and many of these guys are like really popular already, but I don't know, we want to nerd out a bit. So the first on our list is R906. Lots of electronic instrumentals, drum, bass. What I think is super interesting about his music is the Vocaloids are not often the main draw. Sometimes you'll like hear them for a verse in the beginning and then hear them for like the main chorus at like the end, and like 80% of the song has no Vocaloid in it, which I think is cool. Really makes them feel special. We also have Azari, who really edgy channel aesthetic. I think he's changed it up in recent times, but makes really spooky sounding songs with like no titles that just pop up on your YouTube.
Yeah.
Uses very unique sounding Vocaloids like Kayuki and Flower and makes them sound extra spooky. We have an example song down there of a song he's on called Witch Hunt, which I think is a Teto song.
Yes.
Synthie Teto, which is fun.
That's a Teto song.
We also have Utsupi and his most recent album, Happy Pills. He is a metal Vocaloid producer. He melds that with the more like classic, like lighthearted Miku sound in some of his songs. That sounds really, really cool with that contrast. I think it's super awesome when he makes the robots scream as well. It sounds so weird, so cool.
Yeah, definitely a unique sound. Next we have Mikey P. He not only is a producer, he's also a singer by himself. He sings covers and drums. So his music is super cool, as the classic like rock and electric sound to it, and his style is super cool too. Like, look at that picture of him.
And the song we have listed right there, Cyberpunk Dead Boy, is a Project Sky commission. It was for Rui's like 4th or 5th, I forget which event, but
Yeah, I know.
awesome song.
Yeah. Next up is, I think, my favorite, of Hifumi, who kind of does rock, guitar, and drums, but also mixes in a lot of traditional Japanese instruments, and kind of that contrast is super cool. I love it, and a lot of his songs have a very melancholy, sad feel to it, or just not super energetic, but I'm here for it. And lastly, Maserata came out of nowhere with Synthie Teto and animating all his own music videos. Absolutely insane person and insane songs. Just super silly, super energetic, and just insane. It really feels like I'm back in 2011.
Yeah.
We're watching these like really shitty drawings, but animated so well.
They look like they're in MS Paint, but they're like the best piece of art you've ever seen in your life. It's crazy. Something we also think is fun is that 5 out of the 6 of these producers have done Project Sky commissions before. And it's funny because it used to only be like 2 or 3. So when we originally made this presentation and we were updating it for this video, we are like, wait, we've had more releases since then. I think most of them, except for Maserata, have done one before. R906 made Jumping Over for More Jump. Azari made DNA for Nightcord. Utsupi made Fuel for VBS. Mikey P made Cyberpunk Dead Boy, like is listed there. And Hifumi made Connecting the Stars for Leonid alongside 40MP. So you can see things come full circle. These guys have been in the scene for a bit, and they've been contributing to the scene in like new ways with Project Sky too, and we just think that's super cool.
Yeah, it's really cool to see like finding a producer who's small. Like I remember seeing a zombie really early, who was
Yeah,
still
only a
like,
couple thousand.
Yeah, still really small, still using No Name as his YouTube channel. To now he's got commission and is in Project Sakai. Super cool.
So yeah, that's the end of our presentation. Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, you can find our social medias on the screen. We also have a playlist of all the songs mentioned if you just want to like listen to everything in one go. We're also in the description. We could probably put a little link to this presentation. We have everything cited in the notes if you wanted to see where we got our sources for these interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Miku da yo.
Hatsune Miku forever.
Miku da yo.